I went hands-on with the final version of Samsung's Galaxy XR headset and found a hidden USB-C port, a unique feature on the new controllers, got an exclusive first look at the carrying case, and a ton more details you won't find anywhere else. So here is everything you need to know about the Galaxy XR headset, including how to get a massive discount on the controllers and carrying case. Let's start by taking a closer look at the headset, and we'll talk more about the controllers in a minute. So on the front of the headset, we have two 6.5 megapixel pass-through cameras. On the outsides, we get 4 motion tracking cameras, as well as 2 on the bottom as well. And while we're looking at the bottom, we have 2 ventilation holes here, 2 ventilation holes on the side. We get 4 microphones on the bottom, and we get a microphone on the left side and another microphone on the right side for a total of 6 microphones. This little bar right here is a touch sensitive area. It's not used for swiping, it's just tapping to get into different modes. And speaking of getting into different modes, if we look at the top, you have your 2 sets of buttons here. These are volume rockers on this side, and this button can be used to activate Gemini or open up your applications. We'll see 2 more ventilation holes at the top, and there's obviously a built-in fan to help cool this off. The top visor is not detachable. This is permanently connected to the front of the headset, but if I turn this up a bit like this little headpiece here is detachable. It's just held on with magnets. And you can get spacers to put in here, a thin spacer and a thicker spacer, to push the headset further away from your eyes, or to push the lenses further away from your eyes. Speaking of the lenses, we do have pancake lenses here, and these do adjust their distance automatically to match the distance between your pupils. And the way it does that is with 4 cameras behind the lenses. So there's 2 cameras behind each lens. And those are not only used for eye tracking for things like foveated rendering, where only the area you're looking at is rendered in really high detail, and everything around the area you're looking at, kind of in the periphery, isn't as detailed. And that allows for higher resolution textures and things like games without needing a bunch more processing power. But besides things like the foveated rendering, those in-lens cameras are also used to track your facial movements. So if you're smiling or frowning or whatever you're doing with your face, that can be tracked with those cameras. And this is important because Samsung has avatars very similar to the Apple Vision Pro. So if you're in a video call with someone, they'll actually see your avatar, and the avatar will mimic your actual facial expressions. On the left side of the headset, there is the proprietary power connector, and this is required because there's no built-in battery on the headset. You do need an external battery pack. Fortunately, this connector does lock onto the headset, so you won't accidentally pull it off. And there is a button on the connector that you can press to disconnect it. If we flip it over, there's actually a hidden port on the top, and this little nub on the top right corner, if you push in on this, the backside will lift up a bit, and you can pull that out of the way. And now you've got a USB-C port. This can be used to transfer data from the headset to your computer, or your computer to the headset. If you have your own library of movies that you want to store to the headset, you can do that through this port. Or if you're doing game capture with the headset and you want to put that to your computer, again, you can use this port to do that. But you can't charge through this port. There's no charging capabilities at all. This is just for data transfer. And this can also be used as an HDMI output. So if you want to plug the headset directly into a TV through the HDMI port, you can do that with an adapter cable. Next to the USB-C port is a top firing speaker, and there are 4 speakers total. So there's one on the right side on the top, one on the left side on the top, and if I flip it over, there are 2 towards the back on the bottom, one there and one there. And having these 4 speakers allows for 360-degree sound, very similar to Dolby Atmos. And in my time testing this, it was actually really impressive. It does work very well. Looking on the left side of the inside of the headset, we get a proximity sensor. This is how the headset knows whether or not you have it on. So when you put it on, the screen will automatically turn on, and when you take it off, the screen will automatically turn off. This back cushion does adjust, so if I tilt it back and forth, it'll adjust automatically as I tighten it, but it can't be disconnected. So this is permanently attached. So are the side bands as well. These are all permanently attached to the headset, so we're not going to be seeing something like third-party headset bands like we do with the Meta Quest 3 and something like a Bobo VR head strap. That said, this head strap with the ratcheting wheel here and this little forehead piece right here has been tremendously comfortable in my time using it, but my demo was only about 25 to 30 minutes, so I'm definitely going to need to get this in the office and test it a whole lot more to see what the long-term comfort's going to be like. We also have a depth sensor and a flicker sensor on the front of the headset. So the depth sensor is used to tell how far away things are in real space. And the flicker sensor checks for flickering lights. So if you have LED lights, or if you've ever tried to record a TV screen and you saw those lines going or that flickering on the screen, this can detect that and get rid of that flicker. Taking a closer look at the lenses, you can see these white and black dots. And these are for prescription lens inserts. So if you wear glasses and you don't want to wear your glasses with the headset on, you can get those lens inserts and they snap on magnetically. Then if someone else is going to use it and they don't need glasses, you can easily just pop them back off and hand the headset to the next person. Below that, you'll see this groove in here, and this is for the blinders that they can put on. So obviously, when you put this headset on, there's a big opening along the side and along the bottom, so you can see your real space. But if you want to be fully immersed, you can put those blinders on, and they just attach magnetically. I did get a chance to test those in my demo, and they do a pretty good job of blocking out most of the light. You can still see around your nose, which is sort of a good thing because you at least don't have anything pressing up against your nose to block that light. But I did notice that for me personally, I was getting some light leak coming in around this part of the headset, and it was putting a little bit of glare on the screens. Now there was some overhead lighting. I think that's why. It could have also been a bit of a fitment issue. So this is something I'm gonna have to test a little bit more when I get my own headset. Putting the headset on is pretty self-explanatory. You just undo this little ratcheting piece here, place the headset on, your forehead's gonna touch right here. Then you just ratchet it in, and the headset's on. Obviously, you can see here that there's a ton of space on the sides and down by my nose. I have full peripheral vision. I see a lot of space below me. So this is just to make it easier to see your environment, because one of the big purposes for this headset is to be a productivity headset first, gaming headset second. And by having this huge opening on the bottom, if I'm working at a computer and I have a keyboard and a mouse, I can actually see all of it very clearly just by looking down. It's definitely enough space for that. It's not going to be obstructed in any way. So for an office environment, or you want like a massive screen to do your work on, or you want a bunch of different screens, this would be an excellent application for that. And having had the opportunity to test it and actually see the screen quality, it is tack sharp, and it is really impressive, especially because they now have OLED screens. And this is something that I've been missing since Samsung had the Odyssey headsets, which had the OLED screens. Ever since then, I've been using the Quest headsets. Those don't use OLED screens. So the difference in contrast, like something that's black in this headset is true black. Something that's black in a Quest headset is like a really, really dark gray. And as soon as I put this on, that was the very first thing I noticed, was just how rich the colors looked. And that was probably one of the most impressive things for me with this headset on. Now, since I have this headset on and there's no battery connected at all, I don't see anything. It's just black on the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off now. So I mentioned that this was productivity first and gaming second. So with gaming, if you're gonna be doing some computer gaming, there is a way to stream your computer games from your PC to the headset. It's all already built into the headset. Samsung's gonna make it really easy to do that. So if you wanna play a 2D computer game, you can have a massive screen, much larger than your typical monitor, and you'll be able to use the keyboard and mouse just fine and get more immersed in your regular 2D gaming. But Samsung also supports VR games, and there's a few ways you can do it. So the first way is through the Play Store, and Samsung's gonna have a dedicated section of XR-enabled games. And they've already ported some games over that you may be familiar with from the Meta Quest 3 and 3S, and that would be something like Walkabout Mini Golf has already been ported over. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones that we haven't been able to see yet, and I'll know for sure once I get my headset. I can go through the store and let you guys know exactly what's actually available at launch. But the other way to play games is through Steam VR. So if you have a really powerful desktop computer and you have some Steam VR games there, you can get the full power of your desktop computer streamed wirelessly to the headset. And it'll work with the wireless controllers that you can also get with the headset. This headset does have Wi-Fi 7 and a Bluetooth 5.4. So because of the Wi-Fi 7, you're gonna get much faster streaming capabilities. So you're not gonna have to worry about latency or lag when playing those Steam VR games streamed to the headset, as long as you also have a Wi-Fi 7 capable router at your house. So here are the official controllers for the Galaxy XR headset. You can see they are pretty similar to the Quest 3 controllers.
with a difference here. So this area right here is actually a touch sensitive area, and this can be used for scrolling through applications. So whether you're scrolling through something in a gallery or a web page, you can just scroll using these right here. All of these buttons are also touch sensitive as well. So if you're in VR and you touch one of these buttons, your VR hands are going to move to those buttons. The joysticks feel smaller than the Quest controllers. I could be wrong about that, but they do feel a little bit smaller. And if you press them in, these do click in. The triggers are analog triggers, so when you press them in, they just press in smoothly all the way to the back, but there's no secondary button at the bottom. There's no like a second press or anything when you get to the bottom. And the same for the grip triggers. They are analog and they smoothly press in. And the controllers obviously have haptics as well. When it comes to battery life, Samsung says that these are going to be similar to other VR controllers, so expect similar battery life to what you'd get with Quest 3 controllers. Now, fortunately, the controllers do have regular AA batteries inside of them, a single one in each controller. So you just push this little button here, and it easily slides out, and you have a little barrel there to replace your battery, and then you slide it back in just like that. So a really easy way to change the batteries on these controllers. These don't have a wrist strap on them at the moment, but you can attach one with these holes here on the bottom, and these should be coming with a wrist strap in the box.
Here's an exclusive look at the carrying case. As you can see, there are dedicated spots for the headset, battery pack, and power cable. And if you lift this cover, you get a space for the charger and charging cable. And you might be able to fit the controllers on either side of the charger box, but it doesn't look like that's officially supported. I'll find out for sure once my headset, case, and controllers come in, so stay tuned for that. Fortunately, the headset fits even with the protective cover and blinders installed, so that's good to see. The protective cover slides on and off pretty easily and has a soft fabric on the inside to better protect the headset. And this case retails for $259.99, but I'm going to show you guys how to get an incredible discount on it later in the video. Now let's talk about some of the huge things I noticed in my demo. Thanks to two 6.5 megapixel pass-through cameras on the front of the Galaxy XR headset, there is a pass-through mode and it does look pretty good. It's definitely better than what you'd get on something like a Quest 3, but there is still a bit of graininess to it. So while it is a nice improvement, we're probably going to need maybe 12 megapixel sensors on the front before it starts to look like real life. However, the color accuracy on the pass-through cameras was incredible. So that means the color of my arm that I could see through the headset matched my actual arm's color outside of the headset. When it came to controlling the headset, you can use both hands simultaneously. You could also use your voice or the controllers or keyboard and mouse, and you can switch seamlessly between all of them. And that's what Samsung means when they say multimodal. It's just a fancy way of saying you can easily switch between control methods. Something I did notice when using both hands to grab virtual objects at the same time is that if my hands crossed paths, the tracking would get lost if one hand went behind the other, and the object I was dragging just got released. I'm sure Samsung could push a software update in the future to help make this tracking a little bit better, but I'm also not sure how often you'd be crossing your hands anyway in normal use cases. For processing power, the Galaxy XR headset gets the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2, which has a 20% higher CPU frequency and a 15% higher GPU frequency compared to the XR2 Gen 2, which is what you get on the Quest 3. And while that is an improvement in performance, it's not quite enough improvement that Samsung is able to drive their dual 4K displays at their maximum resolution at all times. And that's where foveated rendering comes in. So the Galaxy XR headset supports foveated rendering because they have those two cameras tracking eye movement. And what this does is make whatever you're looking at be super sharp, really in focus, and super high resolution. And then whatever you're not looking at around the periphery of your vision, that gets rendered at a pretty low resolution. Another really cool feature I was able to test out was spatializing 2D images and then turning those into videos. So what spatializing does is makes it into a 3D image, but not just like a foreground and a background, like it's a continuous 3D image. So everything that's in it is placed correctly in 3D space. Then you could use AI to turn it into a spatialized video, which was really impressive. Moving on to other AI features, so Gemini is baked right into the core of this headset, and that allows you to do things like automatically reorganize your windows for you, translate text in real time, and that would be more useful when Samsung releases the XR glasses. You can also use Gemini to get more information about something you're watching in the headset, like if you're watching a movie and you want to find out what the specific sunglasses are that an actor is wearing, or you want to know the batting average of a baseball player, or pretty much any other question you can think of. And you can also let Gemini see your real world as well, so you can ask it to help you fix things, or even figure out how to change your settings in a program. And that's something I've actually done with Gemini on my phone using Premiere Pro and Photoshop. And it actually works incredibly well. Samsung says the battery pack will last about 2 to 2.5 hours depending on what you're doing, but you can charge the battery pack while you're using it through a separate 45 watt capable USB-C port. Here's a list of all the official specifications for the Galaxy XR headset, and it's available for purchase right now for $17.99, which is about half of what the Apple Vision Pro sells for, but with better screens and way more support for gaming and controller input. The Galaxy XR controllers and carrying case are sold separately for $259.99 each. But if you use my affiliate links in the description and pinned comment, you'll get 30% off both of the accessories when you order them with the headset. And you'll get over $1,000 worth of apps and subscriptions, like a 12-month subscription to Google AI Pro, Google Play Pass, and YouTube Premium, as well as YouTube TV for 3 months, an NBA League Pass for the rest of the season, the NFL Pro Era VR game, and more. And since those are affiliate links, I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you, and that's actually how I can afford to purchase all of the products I review on this channel. So I just want to say a huge thanks to all of you who've been using my links. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss my deep dive coverage of the Galaxy XR headset coming up real soon. That's it for this tech episode. Jesus loves you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.